He locked a millionaire doctor in his office, thinking he was just a Playboy. Shocking truth. In the heart of the bustling city, where skyscrapers brushed the clouds and secrets lurked around every corner, a scandal brewed that would leave jaws on the floor. Rumors whispered through the air like cold drafts, swirling about a suave doctor known for his charm and his bank account. Everyone thought they knew him, a handsome playboy flitting through charity galas and rooftop parties. But no one saw what was happening behind the glass doors of his pristine office. What if the truth was darker than the glossy magazines painted? What if this doctor, with his perfect grin and sharp suits, held a secret that could shatter lives? As the clock struck midnight, a muffled thud reverberated in the office, echoing through the empty hallways. Inside, the doctor's flawless exterior cracked. He was bound to his leather chair, eyes darting around in a mix of confusion and dread. The air thickened with tension, heavy like a storm cloud ready to burst. He had laughed at the whispers of danger, dismissing them as the jealous gossip of those who couldn't keep up with his life. But now, fear clawed at his throat, and then there was the intruder. A nameless figure whose shadow loomed large in a dim corner, wielding a flickering flashlight like a weapon. How did they even get in? That wasn't a thought he could afford right now. Sweat trickled down his brow as panic gripped him. Outside, the streets hummed with the life of the innocent, totally unaware that a storm was brewing just behind those polished walls. Moments felt like hours, the silence of the office almost deafening. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the figure stepped closer, the light flickered, revealing an expression riddled with fury and betrayal. This was no mere thief, this was someone who knew the doctor's past, someone who had a score to settle. The truth was about to be dragged into the light, and there was no way to escape it. The air thickened once more, and dread wrapped around his chest. It was too late for denial. What did the doctor do? What mistake could have led him here, trapped in his own sanctum? As the walls closed in, questions spiraled in like a torrent. And just like that, the doctor's world began to crumble. Would he confront the truth, or would he remain a victim of the very life he built? Secrets long buried clawed at the surface. The night was far from over. The intruder stalked closer, each step calculated, the beam of the flashlight slicing through the darkness, revealing a face twisted in rage. The doctor's heart raced. Who was this person? With a twinge of recognition, he realized, this was no stranger. This was someone he'd wronged, someone with an axe to grind. Do you remember me? The figure hissed, voice low and menacing. The doctor's mind raced, flashes of old memories flickering like the failing light. Faces blurred in a familiar fog, but he could feel the weight of accountability slamming down around him. Guiltily, he swallowed hard, his throat dry as sandpaper. Why are you doing this? He asked, trying to keep his voice steady despite the tremor that betrayed him. We can talk this out. Talk? The intruder laughed, a sound devoid of humor. You really think this is about conversation? You've taken so much from me without a second thought. It's time you paid the price. Silence enveloped them, thick enough to cut with a knife. The doctor squirmed, the leather chair constricting around him like the world closing in. He had many secrets, but one loomed like a black cloud. The whispers of his past danced just out of reach, taunting him. Who sent you? He asked, panic creeping into his voice. Every moment felt like a countdown. He couldn't let this spiral beyond control. There were lives at stake, his included. Does it matter? The figure snapped, stepping into the light fully now, revealing disheveled hair and bloodshot eyes filled with a storm of emotions. "You think you're untouchable because of your money, your charm? Everyone pays in the end." The doctor felt a tightening in his chest. The memories crashed over him, vivid images of careless nights and broken promises. "I was just trying to help," he pleaded, desperation flooding his voice. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "Help? You helped yourself and look where that got you," the intruder spat, rage hanging in the air like smoke. With every accusation, the doctor felt the walls of his own world teetering precariously. Was this the reckoning he'd been avoiding? As the confrontation built, the atmosphere ruptured. The intruder lunged, and for a split second, the doctor's instincts kicked in. He struggled against the bonds that trapped him, rage igniting in his belly. "Wait!" he shouted, his body thrumming with adrenaline. "If you let me go, I can make it right. I can fix this." But there was no sign of mercy on the intruder's face. A cruel smile twisted their lips, and the flashlight extinguished, plunging the room into ominous darkness. "In exchange for your life, you might want to dig up some deeper truths. Because the truth is, you're not just fighting for your freedom. You're fighting for your soul." With that, the claustrophobic silence swallowed them whole, leaving the doctor gasping for air, heart pounding like thunder. Trapped in a spiral of dread and uncertainty, he wondered if he had the strength to face whatever came next. Would he survive this confrontation, or had he finally been cornered by the shadows of his past? As the clock ticked ominously in the background, one question loomed larger than the rest: could he confront the truth of who he really was before it was too late? The silence dripped like thick syrup, and the doctor pressed against the leather chair, heart slamming against his ribcage. He strained to catch any sound, any sign of the intruder's actions, but the darkness was suffocating, wrapping around him like a heavy blanket. Breathing in and out was becoming laborious, sweat trickled down the back of his neck, then, he heard a soft scraping sound, almost like fingernails against wood. Panic clawed at his throat. What was the intruder doing? Was he searching for something? The doctor shot a glance around the room. Familiarity twisted into dread as he remembered the hidden drawer in his desk that housed his most questionable secrets. Could they be safe? Or had that hidden history finally caught up to him? "Why so quiet?" The intruder's voice sliced through the shadows. "Are you reflecting on the past? Good. You should. Because it's a bitter one, isn't it?" Please, the word barely escaped the doctor's lips. "You don't have to do this. Whatever it is, we can settle it without violence." A laugh, cold and piercing, filled the room. "Violence? You think this is about violence?" The intruder's voice became deeper, almost contemplative. "No, doctor. This is about revelation. You must face the truth of your actions like I had to." The doctor's heart lurched. Was this turning into some twisted therapy session? He clenched his fists, forcing himself to focus. "You think I don't feel remorse? I've spent sleepless nights," the words tumbled out, desperate now. "You have no idea what I've been through. Enlighten me." The intruder spat, the blackness twisting his voice into something monstrous. "Tell me how your guilt paralyzes you, how it eats you alive. But deep down you still hide behind your wealth, pretending you can outrun it. You chose to turn your back on me." The revelation struck with a force that nearly shattered the doctor's resolve. He strained against the chair, the leather creaking in protest, his breath hitching. Memories flooded back, nights spent partying and people he had disregarded. What had he done? "Enough!" he shouted suddenly, his voice hoarse and ragged. "What do you want from me?" "A reckoning." The intruder's voice dropped to a near whisper, yet it carried the weight of 1,000 sins. "You'll understand soon enough." Suddenly, a flicker of light returned, illuminating the room again, but this time it was different. The beam danced awkwardly, as if it were being held by an unsteady hand. The doctor squinted, his pulse quickening as the beam finally settled on a disgusted look plastered across the intruder's face. Then he surged forward, the flashlight revealing a jagged object glinting in the dim light, a knife. Just like that, the air snapped electric with new tension, the doctor's instinct screaming. The knife was a symbol of everything he feared. All those times you thought no one would fight back. Well, here's your fight. The intruder stepped closer. The doctor's heart raced with adrenaline. Fight or flight kicked in, and he barely had enough time to wrestle his body into action. You don't have to do this. But the intruder didn't respond, eyes boring into his with a wild intensity, seemingly hungering for anguish and connection. A pulse of fear surged through the doctor as he faced not just his assailant, but the ghosts of his past. Could he untangle from the web of deceit and remorse that had spun around him? Or was this the final chapter in a lifelong saga of evasion? With an urgency he had never known, he lunged forward, knocking the knife from the intruder's hand, adrenaline and desperation propelling him. The clash sent both of them tumbling to the ground, the struggle erupting like a storm. As they wrestled in a frantic dance of survival, air thick with tension and raw emotion, a realization tightened in the doctor's gut. In seeking to confront his past, he may well have awakened the darkest parts of himself and the world he thought he controlled, and just as the room seemed to teeter on the brink of chaos, the intruder managed to hiss, "You think this is over? This is only the beginning." What had he unleashed? The doctor's heart plummeted as he realized, the past refuses to stay buried, and sometimes, it rises with a vengeance. The clash of bodies hit the hardwood floor with a resounding thud, echoing throughout the dimly lit office. The doctor fought hard against the weight pressing down on him, his chest tightening like a vice. The knife skittered across the floor, landing out of reach, but the intruder's fury would not be so easily quelled. "Is this how you want to deal with your sin?" The intruder spat, rage contorting his facial features. Running? Hiding? The doctor struggled to break free, but every attempt only brought sharper pain as the intruder's grip tightened. "Let me go!" he shouted, desperation slicing through his voice. "You think you can take me down like this? What good will that do?" But all the intruder did was laugh, a sound that twisted the very air around them. "You're right, Doctor. Your demise would mean nothing. You need to suffer first, really suffer. I want you to feel the weight of your decisions." With a surge of adrenaline, the doctor managed to roll, swapping their positions. Now, it was he who pinned the intruder to the ground, his heart pounding with fierce determination. "You're wrong," he panted, sweat dripping from his brow. "You don't know me, not truly." The intruder's expression shifted, a flicker of surprise crossing his face before morphed into a snarl. "Then show me who you really are. Who you really were." The word struck a chord deep within the doctor. Memories flared in his mind like a wildfire, faces of the people he had abandoned, lives he had broken. Each one was a ghost dancing just at the edge of his consciousness, taunting him with regret. He felt the pressure of their stares, collective judgment weighing down. "I didn't choose all of this," he shouted, shaking with emotion. "I was trapped in a cycle that felt impossible to break. I was scared, lost." For a moment, the intruder's expression softened, almost imperceptibly, but the heat of rage flared up again. "Scared? You think that gives you an out? You ruined lives. You took everything from me and now you stand here, acting as if you've done nothing but live an innocent life?" The doctor felt a storm swirling inside him, pain, fear, anger all converging into a tumultuous wave. "What do you want from me? What will it take to make this end?" "Revelation, just like I said," the intruder hissed, his voice now low and chilling. "It's time you faced the people that you've wronged. Face what you've done. And when you look into their eyes, you will learn that your past will not let you off that easy." With renewed strength, the doctor surged forward, grabbing his attacker by the shirt. "Do you think I haven't already been haunted?" The weight of his guilt hung heavy like lead, and he felt it threaten to choke him. "Every single day, I face it. You think bringing more pain will help? You won't have a chance to decide. You'll answer for your transgressions, whether you want to or not. The eyes of the intruder burned with a furious intensity that made the doctor uneasy. Suddenly, the moment split wide open. Footsteps thudded outside the office door, urgent, heavy. The sound brought a flicker of hope and panic all in one breath. Were they coming to his aid, or would they serve only to complicate this spiraling moment? "Who is that?" the intruder hissed, his body tensing beneath the doctor. "They can't take you away yet." A bang echoed as the door rattled in its frame. The doctor's breath caught in his throat. Who was coming? Who could possibly intervene in this chaos? Time froze for an instant as the heavy door burst open, and a figure stepped into the fray. The doctor's heart raced in anticipation, realizing the answers he sought were about to come crashing down like a wave. But was this the rescue he'd hoped for, or the beginning of an even darker chapter? The figure that entered was a silhouette against the dim light, their breath quick and heavy. The doctor's frantic eyes adjusted, and recognition washed over him like ice water. Sarah, his nurse, his confidante, stood frozen in the doorway, her face a mask of shock. "Get the hell out of here!" the intruder barked, twisting beneath the doctor's hold, and pushing with surprising force against the floor. "No!" Sarah screamed, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "What is happening? Call for help!" The doctor gasped, trying to keep the intruder pinned while casting a frantic glance toward her. Panic surged in him, he couldn't let her get tangled in this nightmare. But the intruder sneered, his eyes dark and dangerous. "You think I'll allow that? No witnesses. Just you and me and your little conscience running wild." Tension crackled between them, suffocating the air. Sarah took a hesitant step forward, her eyes darting around the room like a rabbit cornered by a wolf. "What is he talking about? Doctor, what is going on? Sarah, please." The doctor's voice trembled, desperation spilling out. "You don't understand. It doesn't matter." The intruder spat, twisting again and bucking the doctor off him, springing to his feet. The doctor grunted as he hit the wall, scrambling to regain control. Each moment felt like eternity, the room spinning with adrenaline and fear. The intruder charged toward Sarah like a predator spotting its prey. "You want the truth?" he growled, taking a menacing step forward. Sarah backed up instinctively. "Stay away from her!" the doctor shouted, lunging to intercept. But with a quick sidestep, the intruder was upon Sarah, gripping her wrist. "She deserves to know just what kind of monster you are. Let her go." The doctor snarled, his heart racing. Images of abandoning his patients, the guilt of decisions that plagued him. What had he done? What had he caused? The intruder released a low, cruel laugh. "What will it take for you to confront your sins? Watching her suffer? Is that the price you're willing to pay to silence your own demons? Enough!" the doctor roared, emotion spilling over. He charged, throwing himself at the intruder, and in that moment, the door frame splintered violently as it slammed shut behind them, trapping them in a bubble of chaos. The sudden darkness felt like the inside of a tomb. "Is this where it ends?" Sarah cried, eyes wide with fear. "Not if I can help it." The doctor shouted, his voice a defiant roar. The struggle resumed, the weight of guilt choking the doctor once more. How far had he fallen? His own reflection stared back at him in a haze of pain and regret, a man entwined in a battle not just for his life, but for his very soul. "Do you fear the truth?" the intruder taunted, battling back against the doctor. "Or are you simply afraid of losing control?" Barely keeping his grip, the doctor felt his mind racing. What truths lurked in darkness, waiting to emerge when he least expected them? The fight spiraled into chaos, desperation mingling with horror, each punch a plea for redemption. The weight felt heavier, a crushing reminder of past choices swinging like a pendulum before him, but the answers lay ahead like a distant flicker of hope if only he could grasp them. As the darkness enveloped them, a sudden crash echoed from behind, the sound of breaking glass, sending a shockwave through the air. What was that? Sarah yelled, her voice edged with terror. An unknown force circled them, the imminent danger shifting form and threatening to consume them all. Could there be a way out of this? Could he free himself from the chains of his own making, with the echoes of the past colliding with the present? One ultimate question lingered, suspended in the turmoil: who was really in control? The tension was palpable, thick enough to cut with a knife. The darkness pressed in on them, a living entity full of malicious intent. The doctor struggled to regain his footing, his heart racing as he pushed against the overwhelming chaos, his mind a tempest of fear and regret. Get away from her! He yelled again, his voice cracking as he focused all his strength into pinning the intruder down. But with each second that passed, the reality of his powerlessness clawed at him. Is that the best you've got? The intruder scoffed, shaking off the doctor's grip like a dog shedding water. The man was relentless, fueled by a rage that seemed to defy logic. With a swift movement, he elbowed the doctor in the stomach, sending him staggering back, gasping for air. Sarah! The doctor's voice shattered the silence, wheezing as he scouted the cramped space for any means of defense. She was backing away, the wall preventing her retreat. Fear flickered in her eyes, a light dimming slowly as the danger closed in. Why are you doing this? She cried out, her voice trembling. What do you want? The intruder turned his head sharply, locking eyes with her. Oh, Sarah, sweet naive Sarah. You'll know soon enough. This is exactly what he deserves. His fingers danced near the collar of her shirt, but the moment was interrupted by the doctor's desperate charge. Get your hands off her! He hurled himself at the intruder again, their bodies colliding fiercely, sending both sprawling to the floor. The dusty air enveloped them as they rolled, grasping and grappling, each man vying for supremacy. Suddenly, a sharp crash sounded once more, this time more pronounced. Glass shattered. A beam of light sliced through the darkness, illuminating the chaos. The door flew open, and a silhouette appeared in the doorway. Police! Freeze! A voice boomed, echoing off the walls. The intruder froze for a moment, his eyes darting toward the door before snapping back to the doctor. No witnesses, he hissed, a snarl twisting his face. He surged upward, grabbing Sarah by the arm, yanking her toward him like a pawn. The doctor's heart dropped. No! Let her go! The plea burst out, raw and desperate. Panic coursed through him, a searing anxiety that surpassed pain. Do you want to find out what it's like to fail at everything, doctor? To save lives and ruin others? The intruder's voice dripped with malice as he pushed Sarah against him, almost choking her with the force of his grip. Stop! Sarah squeaked, her expression a blend of fear and disbelief. Shut up! The intruder snapped, tightening his grip, dark fury in his eyes. In that moment, everything felt like it was spiraling out of control. The doctor surged forward, adrenaline fueling his every movement. He had to reach them. He had to save her. Just as he lunged, the unmistakable sound of sirens echoed outside like a beacon of hope amidst despair. The intruder's expression shifted, wavering. Damn it! He cursed, hesitation creeping into his voice. This isn't over with that. He released Sarah, thrusting her away as he sprinted toward the now exposed door. The doctor seemed frozen for a heartbeat, before realizing what was at stake. Get back! He screamed, pushing Sarah aside as he dove for the intruder, the chaos erupting around them. The figure disappeared, barreling through the doorway just as the law arrived, leaving destruction and unanswered questions in their wake. Are you okay? The doctor turned to Sarah, urgency overwhelming him. Her breathing was quick, terror gripped her. What was that? Who was he? She whispered, panic knotting in her throat. I don't know, he replied, guilt starting to seep into his voice. But I'll find out. I promise. The sirens blared louder, and the moment seemed to stretch infinitely, an acknowledgement of the horror they had just endured and of the deeper darkness still lurking beyond. But as he searched her eyes for solace, doubt began to gnaw at him. What truths remained? What other shadows were vying to tear their lives apart? And in that harrowing silence, the most haunting question echoed in his mind: could he really keep her safe from the monsters of his past? The air was thick with tension, a haunting reminder of what had just unfolded. The doctor's mind raced, lacking clarity, as adrenaline coursed through his veins. He turned back to Sarah, who still trembled against the wall, her eyes wide with shock. "Do you need to sit down?" He didn't want to leave her, fear tightened around his chest like a vice. "Just breathe, please." His words were more for himself than for her. She shook her head, taking a shaky breath, and glanced back toward the door that had just witnessed chaos. Did he want to hurt me? I don't know. But he's gone now." The doctor's voice shook with uncertainty, echoing the doubts swirling in his mind. The sound of rushing footsteps filled the hall outside, and 2 police officers rushed in, guns drawn, flashlights sweeping the area. "Everyone stay calm. What's going on here?" The doctor waved them over, urgency bubbling in his throat. "He just left. He had her." He gestured wildly toward Sarah, who still stood frozen. "You need to catch him. Slow down. Back up and tell us everything," one officer commanded, his expression stern. "Listen," the doctor said, fighting back a wave of frustration. "An intruder came in. He had a vendetta against me. He took her, my girlfriend. He was going to where did he go?" The second officer interrupted, looking from the doctor to Sarah, assessing the situation. "Out the back." The doctor pointed toward the door leading to the alley. "I think he ran that way." "Stay with the victim," the first officer instructed. "You, come with me." The second officer nodded and followed the first out the door. "Are you okay?" the doctor repeated, stepping back to face Sarah. She looked pale, her hands trembling at her sides. "No." She gasped, breathing harder, the fear washing over her again. "I feel like I'm going to be sick. What if he comes back? He won tea." But even as he said it, doubt gnawed at his resolve. The man was out there, lurking, waiting for the right moment to strike again. Her voice broke as she spoke. "Why would he say those things? He talked about you like he knew you." The doctor hesitated. I have some history. It's complicated." "Complicated?" she echoed, her voice rising with panic. "A man just tried to kill me, and you think complicated covers it?" The truth sat heavily in his chest. It was twisted, messy, and not a story he wanted to share while they were still in this chaotic place. His eyes searched hers, desperation mounting. "I never wanted any of this." A shout from outside interrupted. "There he is." The sound of footsteps pounding and more shouts filled the space. The officers were closing in. But the danger still lurked heavy in the air, unseen and unfelt, tightening the doctor's grip on his fading composure. And then there was that voice again, echoing in his mind, chilling him to the bone. "Do you want to find out what it's like to fail at everything, doctor?" It was a question laden with implications, a precursor to a reckoning he wasn't sure he was ready for. God, what had he walked into? The sound of sirens blended with the chaos outside, but tranquility felt miles away. Could he really shield Sarah from this darkness? As uncertainty wrapped around him, he realized something worse than any fear. The truth he had buried was clawing its way back, and it threatened to pull them both under. "What do you need to tell me?" Sarah's voice broke through his thoughts, demanding answers. He could feel his heart pounding. But the truth was a monster of its own, and he had to decide, was he ready to face it, or would it consume them both? The seconds felt like hours as they stood frozen in the chaos, the distant sounds of sirens wailing like mournful ghosts. The doctor's resolve was cracking under the pressure, and he could see Sarah's eyes glazed over in panic, the storm of confusion raging just beneath the surface. It was a vulnerability that sliced right through him. "Sarah," he breathed, trying to find words that would both reassure and prepare her. It had been a mistake to keep his past hidden, but now, faced with the prospect of losing her forever, it felt dangerously close to betrayal. "Tell me the truth," she pressed, her voice trembling as she took a step closer. "What did you do to make that man come after us?" The question hung in the air, that suffocating silence stretching like an invisible thread between them. His mind raced backward through time, not to the bright days of his medical career but to darker nights filled with choices that haunted him. He was a patient of mine," he finally admitted, voice barely above a whisper. "A long time ago. I made a decision. One I thought was right for him, but it wasn't, not in the way that mattered." "Are you serious?" Her face twisted in disbelief. "He thinks this is about you?" "Life is rarely that simple," he retorted, desperation creeping in. "I didn't realize I had hurt him until it was too late." Her breath hitched, eyes darting to the door, fear creeping back in. "What did you do?" "I tried to help him," he said, his voice thick with regret. "But he spiraled out of control. I had to release him from my care, and when it started suddenly, the door swung open, and the police officers shouted, 'Get down!' Before he could register what was happening, both the officers rushed in, weapons raised, scanning for threats. The doctor instinctively threw himself in front of Sarah, instinct overriding reason. "Clear!" one officer shouted, lowering his weapon and turning to the doctor. "You need to remain calm. Where is he?" The doctor opened his mouth to respond, but a blood-curdling scream pierced through the air, echoing from somewhere deeper in the building. It was a sound that jolted terror in the doctor's heart, and he knew, even before the officers exchanged glances, that the imminent danger wasn't over. "Stay here," one officer commanded, rushing out to join his partner again. "Can't you just leave?" Sarah's request trembled on the edge of panic. "What if he finds us again?" "Please, you're safe here." "Trust them," he whispered, trying to calm her even as every instinct screamed that they were nowhere near safe, but then it happened. A loud crash came from behind them, the unmistakable sound of breaking glass. The doctor turned just in time to see a figure slip through a shattered window at the end of the hall. He could feel the dread pooling in his stomach. "Did you see that?" he shouted, his voice cracking. "He's coming back. We need to get to the stairwell. Move!" An officer shouted, ushering them toward the exit. Panic surged like fire. The doctor seized Sarah's wrist, pulling her forward. The chaos erupted around them, the sound of footsteps pounding and voices hollering drowned by their own racing hearts. "Please tell me you have a plan." Sarah's voice cracked with urgency, her eyes wide with fear. "I will protect you. I promise," he asserted, though doubts wormed their way through him, gnawing at his confidence. Behind them, the screech of sirens drew closer, amplifying the stakes as they dashed down the dimly lit hallway. With every footfall, the shadows closed in, darker than the fleeting hope that threatened to wane, but little did he know, the truth was not just behind him or even just at their heels, it was the very thing they were running toward. "Doctor!" Sarah shouted, pulling back to look at him as they reached the door. "What is he planning? This can't just be about revenge." Her words ignited the fire of realization within him. It was a damning truth, one that he had tried to avoid. If they didn't stop this now, the consequences would be more catastrophic than he could imagine. "What I did to him wasn't just medical," he finally murmured, almost to himself. "It was personal." The weight of his statement hung heavily in the air as they pushed through the exit, but before either could escape, they heard a muffled roar, and then, "We'll see who fails now." The declaration shook their spirits, an echo of an ominous resolve. What had he unleashed? The chase was on, but what lay beyond that door could crush them both. They burst through the exit into the night, the cool air hitting their faces like a splash of icy water. The moment felt surreal, like stepping into a twisted dream where everything felt wrong. Sirens wailed in the distance, and the chaos felt miles away, yet it engulfed them like fog. "Where do we go?" Sarah's voice trembled, fear curling around her words. "I don't know." The doctor's heart hammered against his chest, and he scanned their surroundings. They stood in a darkened alley, and the shadows seemed to stretch, reaching for them. "We need to keep moving. Stay close." He pulled her forward, their footsteps echoing off the brick walls. Each sound felt amplified, every creak and groan slashing through the night like a knife. The red and blue lights played tricks, casting ghostly patterns that danced ominously before them. "Why is he doing this?" Sarah gasped, trying to keep pace. "What did you do to him?" The doctor clenched his jaw. "I didn't just fail him as a doctor, I betrayed him. I thought I was saving him." Memories rushed back unbidden, fingers slipping, hope fading. "Saving him how?" Sarah pushed, urgency tainting her voice. "By telling him the truth about his condition, but he couldn't accept it. His hands shook. He lost everything. His family, his fortune, all because the truth is, it sometimes destroys people." They rounded a corner, the alleyway narrowing. A flickering street lamp cast eerie shadows, and the doctor felt a chill crawl up his spine. The knowledge settled in his stomach like a stone. He wants revenge, but it's more than that. It's about power. Before he could finish, a shout echoed from behind them, one of the officers. "Clear out. We need backup." "Did you hear that?" Sarah's eyes locked onto him, wild with a mixture of fear and disbelief. "What if he finds us first?" The doctor gritted his teeth, forcing down the rising tide of panic. "We can't go backward. We have to find somewhere safe." Suddenly, the sounds of footsteps echoed, quickening from behind. The officers were engaging someone. Adrenaline surged. They had to move faster. He spotted a dimly lit bar ahead, the sign hanging low and swaying in the breeze. "Get in there," he urged, pulling Sarah toward the entrance. They slipped inside, the smell of stale alcohol and desperation hitting them like a wall. The already low-lit room was filled with hushed voices and wary glances. A band in the corner played softly, half-hearted tunes that felt disjointed in the current atmosphere. "Stay low," he instructed, scanning the bar for a potential exit. He felt the weight of Sarah's fear, amplifying his own. "We'll wait for the commotion outside to settle." "Is this really safe?" she whispered, her body tense beside him. "Right now, it's all we have," he replied, trying to muster confidence that began to wane. He caught the eye of the bartender, a burly man with a scruffy beard. The bartender shook his head, sensing the trouble radiating from their presence. "He's not going to stop looking," Sarah murmured, fear wrapping around her like a chain. "He'll find us." The doctor's mind raced, strategizing, weighing every possibility. If they didn't get ahead of this, the next time he'd see the man who once called him mentor, it would be far too late. "Listen to me," he said, gripping Sarah's shoulders. "I won't let him hurt you, but we need to arm ourselves with the truth. It's not just his power we're up against, it's his knowledge. But what could possibly be worse than his rage?" Sarah breathed, horror dawning, that he felt the tremor in her voice and squeezed her hand as realization dawned on him. "He knows our every weakness, our secrets. This isn't just revenge, it's manipulation." Just then, the bar door swung open, the weight of uncertainty crashing in with the figure silhouetted against the streetlight. A sudden wave of dread wrapped around them both. Could it be him? And just as the whispers filled the bar, one piercing question echoed in the doctor's mind: what did the man truly want, and could they survive whatever was coming next? The bar fell silent. A curtain of fear settled over the patrons, their eyes flickering between the door and the doctor and Sarah, whose shoulders were tight with anticipation. Every heartbeat felt like a hammer, driving the tension deeper. Suddenly, the figure stepped in. It wasn't he, the intruder, but one of the police officers, his face serious and determined. "You two need to come with me. It's not safe here anymore," he urged, glancing back nervously like a shadow was stalking him. "What about the man? Did you catch him?" the doctor asked, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. "Not yet," the officer admitted, jaw tight. "But we've called for backup. We need to get you out of here before he finds you." "He's south, still close." The doctor felt his pulse quicken. "We can't leave. The intruder needs to face the music. He's dangerous, and he's coming for me. You don't understand, he hasn't just been going after you. He's targeting anyone connected to you," the officer replied, urgency lining his voice. Fear clutched at the doctor's chest. "I want to let him hurt Sarah. All we have right now is the chance to escape. We need to move," the officer insisted, already leading them toward the back exit. Sarah's fingers tightened around the doctor's hand, fear and resolve intertwining in her grip. As they pressed through the door into the narrow alley, adrenaline ignited like gasoline. Panic threatened to crash over him as blaring sirens began to build in volume. Would it be enough to keep Sarah safe? "Where are we going?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling, looking from the officer to the doctor with wide eyes. "To a secured station. Right now, we need to get you out of sight," the officer responded, guiding them quickly around a corner. Without warning, an echo of footsteps reverberated down the alley, sharp and jarring. The doctor's heart lurched. He couldn't risk letting the intruder get any closer. "This way." He pulled Sarah into a side street, leading them away from the clamor. "Why did you keep this from me?" Sarah broke, desperation creeping into her voice. "What does he want from you? Why now?" Guilt burned deep within the doctor's chest. "I thought I could protect you. I thought if I stayed quiet, the past would stay buried. But you didn't. He's coming for both of us now," she shot back, frustration bubbling under the surface. "Maybe that's my punishment," he muttered, clenching his jaw as they paused in an abandoned side street. The shadows seemed to close in, heavy and pressing. "And what does that do for me?" she shot back, voice breaking. "You weren't supposed to turn this into my nightmare." He opened his mouth to respond but was cut off by a sudden flash of headlights illuminating the alley. The doctor pushed Sarah behind him, every instinct honed to danger, muscles tensed like a coiled spring. The police car screeched to a halt, and uniformed officers piled out, fanning out in a practiced motion. Relief washed over him, they were safe now. But the intruder was out there, their lives still dangling on the edge of a knife. "Doctor?" one officer called, rushing toward them. "Are you all right? Where's the other guy?" The doctor barked, reality crashing back down around him. "He's coming for us." Just then, the air crackled with a fresh wave of tension. A figure loomed in the darkness, stepping from a shadowed corner, eyes gleaming with malice. It was the intruder. He stepped forward with a predatory grin, menacing in the streetlight's glow. "Hello, doctor," he said smoothly, a sickly sweet tone underscored with venom. "Ready to confess your sins? Because now, we all get to play a little game." The doctor's heart raced, the urgency red-hot within him. But with the reinforcements at their back, there was a flicker of hope. "Get behind me!" he yelled again, stepping in front of Sarah, fully determined. "You don't have to do this. And you think I'll let it all go? This is about accountability," the intruder hissed, fists clenching. The officers raised their weapons, voices stern. "Drop it. Back away from the doctor." "Or what?" The intruder laughed, eyes dark, crazy. "You think your little badge can control this chaos?" At that moment, everything seemed to freeze. Time held its breath like a world on the brink. Every gaze was locked in a standoff, a final confrontation written in the twisted lines of fate. The doctor could feel the weight of every decision pressing down. He knew he had to summon every ounce of courage left within him. "Listen!" the doctor shouted, hope soaring even as fear rippled through him. "This isn't the end. The truth can set you free. Keep running, and you'll only fall deeper into this abyss." "Enough! You're nothing," the intruder screamed, the tension snapping like a taut wire. "You made your choice. Now it's time to pay." In one swift motion, the intruder lunged forward, fueled by a need for retaliation. Everything erupted. The officers reacted immediately. Shouts filled the air, gunfire echoed and rang. "No!" the doctor yelled. But it was too late. The struggle unfolded like a tragic ballet, chaos painting every corner as the shadows deepened and the night grew darker. Adrenaline surged, time itself seemed to distort. Then it all happened in a blur, sounds blending into muffled chaos, gunshots, shouts, gasps. The last thing he saw was the flash of steel, the glint of betrayal, and fear etching Sarah's face. It all crashed down around him as darkness swallowed them whole. When the world righted itself again, he was on the floor, fire in his veins, breathless. He flung open his eyes, only to meet chaos, the intruder, the officers, and Sarah struggling to pull him back. As the dust settled, a heart-wrenching realization dawned. It was the moment to confront his choices and face the person he'd become. But above all, he'd need to forgive himself to truly look forward. With a clenched fist around determination, he stood, facing forward. A reckoning had arrived, and it was time for the truth to rise. Let us end this. Together, they would step into the light and face whatever came next. This was their moment. You need to subscribe now. Don't miss out on more exclusive stories that shake the ground beneath you. Smash that like button now and help feed the algorithm so others can find this spine-chilling journey too. Flood the comments section with your reactions and wild theories about the ending, and share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this spectacular conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.